Woo!
You are not awake yet, but they are already powing. You feel their presence like steam rising from tatami, silent, obedient, rehearsed. Before your eyes even part the warmth of your eyelids, the script has begun. The chamber is too quiet, unnaturally so, like the world outside has been muffled just for you. But the insects do not care about protocol. They drone through the paper walls with a sound that imitates distant war drums, tireless and shrill. The scent that clings to the air is a slow rot of sandalwood incense and old sweat sealed in silk. You lie still, aware that the moment you move, the armor of the day will descend, layer by ceremonial layer, suffocating and irreversible. Being emperor in the summer is like wearing iron armor inside a bathhouse. Regal, impressive, utterly pointless. You are the center of a system that pretends to revolve around your will, while every moment is scripted for you, every movement pre-approved. You hold a throne carved from sacred wood, lacquered with reverence, but its edges bite. Even seated, you cannot rest. Your posture must perform, your silence must speak, and your stillness must be heavy enough to command storms. No one asks what you think. They ask if your presence will bless the meeting. Your word is less a decision than a ritual. Power here is not held, it is worn. Like robes in the heat, flowing, elaborate, and entirely inescapable. There's no breeze. There is no freedom in these walls, only layers of expectation as thick as the humidity. You are revered, yes, bowed to, chanted at, bathed like a sacred statue, but the adoration is a form of imprisonment. Each gesture around you is precise, polished, and performed. Even the silence is rehearsed. You speak only when prompted, and even then, only with the words they've written between the spaces of your breaths. You are not a man. You are a presence, and presences are not allowed to sweat. Though, of course, you do. The silk beneath your arms clings. Your thighs burn beneath the weight of the robes. You smell yourself and know no one will dare acknowledge it. Somewhere beyond the lacquered screens in orderly courtyards, a war is beginning. It moves without you, without your consent, without even the courtesy of a knock. And yet, it carries your name. Soldiers will die for banners embroidered with your crest, and you will learn of it not through their cries, but through poems rewritten by frightened scribes. Victory will be performed in fan dances. Loss will be folded into silences. You are both the god of war and its most distant witness. And so you sit on your throne of sacred wood, sweating through your divine image, surrounded by the perfume of devotion and dread. The illusion is complete. You are emperor. You are the eye of a storm that does not need you. And war, indifferent as fire, has already lit its fuse beyond your gates. It does not wait for belief. It does not wait for kings. It does not wait for you.
You do not rise. You are raised by time, by protocol, by the hush that creeps into your bones before your eyes open. The air in your chamber is thick with breath you don't remember taking. Tatami mats beneath you drink in the night sweat like confession. You slept, but only in the sense that your body stopped moving. Your mind remained alert, twitching beneath closed lids, translating dreams into obligations. The first sound you hear is not birdsong nor bell. It is the soft shuffle of sandals against wood, the whisper of fabric bowing toward you. They already know you're awake, or rather, they've decided you are. Your body protests, not from labor, but from stillness. Stiffness curls around your joints like a second skin, one earned not in battle, but in repetition. You slept without choice. You rise without will. Every joint that cracks is a reminder this body belongs to the empire before it belongs to you. You sit upright, slowly, like a scroll unrolling, deliberate, ceremonial, entirely unnecessary. The summer insects outside screech their monotone liturgy. Even nature seems more animated than you. The water is supposed to cleanse, to purify the spirit, to remind you of divinity. Instead, it clings. Pulled from a shallow well, it carries the warmth of a day not yet born. It does not refresh. It baptizes you into another morning of endurance. Attendants pour it over your shoulders with care, but no tenderness. You are scrubbed with silence. The cloth runs across your skin like a ritual more suited to stone than flesh. You do not flinch, though your ribs ache from the pressure. You are expected to feel nothing, and so you do. Nothing, except the itch of steam rising between your legs, the invisible sting of soap in old insect bites, the faint metallic taste of humidity seeping into your mouth. They do not ask if the water is too hot. They do not offer a towel. They dress you while you're still damp, layer upon layer of stiff brocade, each robe a symbol of a lineage you never chose. The garments hang from your shoulders like prayers pinned to a corpse. You feel the sweat forming before the final tie is knotted. You smell yourself aging beneath the embroidery. You wonder if the gods feel this kind of heaviness when praised too long. The tray arrives with the same procession: rice, pickled plum, salted fish. Each item aligned with a reverence you no longer feel. You eat slowly, not because of etiquette, though that is, of course, assumed, but because chewing hurts. Your jaw, clenched through the night, resists motion. The food slides across your tongue without taste. The rice is perfectly steamed, the plum tart, the fish preserved just shy of rot. But you cannot name their flavors. Only textures remain: the chalky softness of grain, the sting of vinegar, the rubbery salt of survival. You swallow because that's what emperors do. You pretend to savor because that's what symbols must perform. You do not speak. You do not look up. Around you, no one eats. They watch. Not your face, that would be disrespectful, but your hands, your breath, the tremor in your chopsticks. Every morning, this same quiet theater. Every bite a reminder this is not nourishment. It is submission. And the only thing more bitter than betrayal is the taste of 1,000 mornings exactly like this one, endlessly repeating until you forget what it meant to be hungry.
The council chamber breathes its own air, a stale blend of pine oil, sweat masked by incense, and the faint tang of old blood that once dried on a scroll too quickly unfurled. You are already seated when they arrive, as is proper, as is expected, as is required.
Each general bow before you, deeply and with practiced grace, but their voices rise the moment their heads do. They speak to each other, through you, around you, over you, never to you. You nod, at the right times, at the wrong times. It makes no difference. Their eyes glance towards you only to confirm you're still part of the furniture. You are the throne in human shape, lacquered, honored, and entirely inanimate. The maps spread before you might as well be tapestries. You recognize the shapes, mountains, rivers, enemy lines, but they speak in a dialect of blood and strategy that was never meant for you. You were not taught how to lead an army. You were taught how to keep your eyes soft and your spine straight. And so you do. You listen to decisions already made. You approve movements you did not conceive. You watch fingers stab the countryside like gods, choosing which peasants to drown. You nod again, this time slower. They smile politely, then return to the war without you. They give you a fan, lacquered black, painted with chrysanthemums, a symbol of serenity, elegance, composure, and command. At least that's the myth. You unfold it slowly, as instructed, letting its thin body slice the air. But you know this is not a weapon. It is a prop, something to keep your fingers occupied while others draw lines of death with real blades. The generals gestured to your fan when they speak of imperial will. They pretend it grants authority, that every flick of your wrist signals some sacred direction. But you are not controlling wind, you are performing it. They draw arrows in ink, you draw circles in silence. At some point, you forget whether the fan is meant to cool you or hide your face. You try to listen, but the heat thickens behind your ears. Sweat gathers under your collar like a warning. Your grip on the fan tightens, but it feels lighter than paper. In your hands, everything does. Through the thin shoji walls, you hear the real summer. The cicadas scream like soldiers dying slowly. Somewhere, a peasant coughs behind a cart. Somewhere else, wood cracks under the weight of a soldier's armor. But here, in this room, everything is still. Too still. You sit atop a pillow that has outlived 3 emperors. You breathe air that has been filtered through protocol and incense. You smile because not smiling would be a scandal. You speak little because speaking too much is seen as weak. The chamber stinks of decisions no one will claim. It smells of waxed floorboards and denial. A servant fans the room with a larger fan, not for your comfort, but for tradition. You are not cooled. You are contained. You hear someone say the word festival when discussing the upcoming siege. It is not a mistake. They talk of drums and banners, of honor and procession, as if this war were a parade and not a meat grinder with better outfits. And you? You sit. You nod. You endure. Because endurance, after all, is the closest thing you have left to power.
The sun rises higher than your banners, and even the shadows begin to retreat. You do not wear armor, not truly, but you feel it pressing against you anyway. The palace walls trap the heat like guilt. Outside, the soldiers march beneath a sky that feels sharpened by its own clarity. Their metal plates shimmer like mirages, beautiful until touched. You saw one soldier collapse once, just past the courtyard gate, steam rising from the crack in his helmet. They told you it was dehydration. You wondered if it was despair. The armor was forged to protect. Now it punishes. The leather straps dig like claws into their shoulders. The helmets sear the scalp. The chainmail bites. You imagine what it must be like, not for an hour, but for days. The sweat finds no exit, only new places to collect, to rot, to remind the body it is made of limits. They march anyway, always forward, always sweating, always silent.
You watch them from behind a screen. You do not sweat like them. Your pain comes with perfume and protocol, but it is pain nonetheless. And guilt, though dressed in silk, burns too. The scrolls arrive daily, rolled tight, sealed with red, carried by men with eyes that have learned not to see. The letters are read aloud in a tone so monotone it could be mistaken for prayer. Victory, progress, morale. The words repeat like incense smoke, thick, fragrant, suffocating. You are told the enemy retreats. You are told your name inspires. You are told the casualties are few. You are not told the truth, not the real one. The truth has too much mud on its boots. It smells like rot and shame. It screams instead of bows. Sometimes a letter slips through, unfiltered. A young commander writes of men digging trenches with their fingernails, of food running out, of screams at night that sound too much like children. You read it twice, then watch it burn in a brazier that smells of pine and forgetting. Later, the same commander is listed as fallen with honor. You wonder if the ink killed him first. The garden was once your mother's favorite refuge. Now it's yours, though not by choice. The lotus pond has shrunk to a muddy oval, ringed by reeds that bow not in reverence, but in resignation. You sit on the same stone bench every morning, pretending you're here to meditate. In truth, you're bargaining with the sky. Not for peace, that's too big, too distant. You've learned to ask for smaller mercies, a shift in the wind, a breath of shade, a cloud with kindness. You bring incense, not because you believe it changes anything, but because habit feels like control. The koi no longer rise when you scatter rice on the water. Even they are tired. Even they know this summer is not for beauty. You speak no prayers aloud. Instead, you count the fallen generals, the cracked tiles in the courtyard, the letters you were meant to answer and didn't. Each count is a kind of confession. And still, no breeze. War continues without your belief. It doesn't need it. War does not wait for emperors. It only waits for bodies.
The palace, by night, becomes a shrine to silence. Every creak of timber is amplified. Every shift of weight becomes a confession. You lie on your futon, limbs rigid beneath layers of silk that do not comfort, only bind. Outside your chamber, the soft slap of straw sandals drifts past like the memory of footsteps, couriers, attendants, shadows. They move like ghosts, and you do not ask their names. Bad news walks softly, and it never hurries. Your eyes remain open longer than they should. You count the beams above your head, the number of breaths between each footstep, the seconds between wind and its echo. The pillow beneath your skull feels like stone, no matter how many layers of cloth are folded atop it. The stillness gnaws at you, not the absence of war, but the absence of peace. You wonder if your father ever slept. You wonder if sleep is a privilege of those without crowns. The night does not end. It only fades into a paler discomfort. When you finally drift, you do not dream of glory. You dream of rice fields, cracked fingernails, open air. In your dreams, you are no one. You stoop in the mud. You chase chickens. You sweat honestly. And when you wake, the return to your body feels like punishment. The silk on your skin reminds you that you are not allowed to be anonymous. You are seen, but never touched, remembered, but never known. Sometimes you fantasize not of escape,
but of erasure. A day when no one bows, a mourning without ceremony, a death that does not require poems or banners or lacquered urns. You long to vanish, not into history, but into indifference. But history never forgets its prisoners, and you are its most ornate one. Even the act of desiring forgetfulness feels like betrayal. The monks chant at dawn, soft, rhythmic, ancient. Their voices rise like mist from the temple beyond the walls, carried by the early light that filters through your lattice screen. The bells accompany them, deep and slow, meant to anchor the soul. But they do not reach you. What you hear instead is the dull thump of your own heart, trapped in your chest like a drum of war with no enemy. It is faster than it should be, louder. You wonder if others hear it too. You wonder if it betrays you, exposes the fear that you've learned to mask beneath poise and posture. You try to match the rhythm of the monks with your breath. It never works. Faith is a luxury, like cold water or truth. And so you sit in stillness, heartbeat thudding against your ribs, while outside the world prepares for another day of dying in your name.
Once they called you the Son of Heaven. They still do, but the reverence has softened, replaced by courtesy that is too polished, too rehearsed. In the chamber of mirrors and masks, devotion becomes indistinguishable from calculation. You were told you were sacred. You now suspect you are symbolic. Like incense, burned to create an illusion of purity, then discarded when the smoke clears. Eyes watch you behind fluttering fans, too quiet, too sharp. Smiles curve like blades, and bows linger just a second too long, as if measuring the distance between your neck and the floor. You nod because you must. You bless them because it is expected. But inside, the question repeats like a drumbeat. Have they already chosen the next one? A boy with a cleaner lineage, a softer voice, a face unlined by sweat. The crown never stays warm. It only absorbs heat from the heads that wear it. You imagine the aftermath often, not out of morbid indulgence, but because it's safer than imagining tomorrow. If you were to fall, the poems would be written within the hour. They would compare your passing to the setting sun, to fallen cherry blossoms, to the fading cry of a temple bell. The court poets would weep in ink. The court scribes would erase her name with precision. Laws would shift like clouds. Titles would be reassigned. The palace would smell of new incense. Only the garden would feel the difference. The koi might circle slower, confused by the absence of your shadow. The trees might take longer to bloom, but even they would forget. In war, grief is a ceremony, not a delay. And the throne, the same wooden seat with the same splinters, would not remain empty for long. Each morning, they hold the mirror before you, not glass, but bronze, polished to an imperfect gleam. It does not flatter. It does not lie. It reflects the robes, the hair, the face trained to remain still beneath the weight of expectation. You look into it and see someone who is never allowed to ask why. You look regal. That is all that matters. The surface catches light, not depth. You touch your own cheek, expecting to feel wax. You wonder when the reflection stopped belonging to you. Perhaps it never did. Perhaps you have always been a figure for others to frame, shape, and claim. But even a puppet, you think, can cast a shadow.
and even a shadow can haunt a legacy.
You sit, unmoving, as the light retreats from the palace. The throne beneath you groans, not with grandeur, but with the weary creak of old wood under old bodies. The silk beneath your thighs sticks to the skin. The incense has long since burned down to ash. The paper doors are open, but no wind comes. Only the scent of stagnant summer and distant blood. This is not a seat of power. It is an oven of ritual, a furnace of obligation. And you, cloaked in layers of tradition and sweat, are its offering. You were not chosen to rule. You were sculpted to endure. And even that endurance is borrowed. The ceremonies you perform are not yours. The words you speak were written centuries before your breath. No silk, however finely woven, can separate flesh from fear. You feel your heartbeat against the robe as if it wants to escape first. The crown doesn't weigh much, not in metal, but in meaning. It crushes. Being emperor in the summer is like being encased in lacquer, glossy, still, and unable to breathe. You are watched, preserved, admired, but never touched as a man, and certainly never believed as one. Outside, the sun collapses into the hills, and the cicadas fall silent. The palace does not cool. Shadows deepen, but they do not soothe. You are left alone, finally, but the solitude brings no peace, only the echo of your own breath and the knowledge that, even in the hush of twilight, performance is expected. Because summer makes no exception for status. Even gods blister under the sun. And in war, every man, emperor or not, sleeps with one eye open, if he sleeps at all.